Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Bandamonium's channel. So, I'm trying to do something a little new. It's gonna be a kind of spoiler review kind of thing. I might make this, or not a spoiler review, a movie review kind of thing. Uh, Maybe make this like a weekly thing, and just kind of go over thoughts and processes and stuff like that. What goes on in these movies that I see, because I feel like there's a lot of times that I want to talk about these movies, but I have nobody to kind of tune it in with, and people haven't watched it yet. Of course, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna edit everything and put it on YouTube anyways. But maybe I can build up a little podcast or something like that for it. And I'll go back and make the edits and everything, of course. So first of all, what's up, Cydrus? I see you in the chat, man. Much appreciated you dropping in. There's gonna be a big Apex stream later tonight. So for sure, be sure to come in and check that out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Me and a buddy of mine, we're gonna try to go through that season 2 and just go through as much as we can on there. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Have the first part of this review, it's gonna be kind of recapping what's going on already in the Marvel universe, and then it's gonna go into what happens in the movie. So I'll try not to spoil too much, but once I pop up these little words in that corner right there for the spoilers, I will go ahead and let everybody know, like, hey, this is stuff. If you haven't seen the movie yet, you plan on seeing the movie, don't watch at that time or wait in the video or whatever. So anyways, that's gonna be gone. We'll get rid of that real quick because right now we're just gonna talk about stuff that's happened in the other movies. So recapping kind of what happens in Endgame, and if you haven't seen Endgame by now, it's been weeks. They even had enough time to do a re-release. So if you haven't seen Endgame yet, go watch Endgame, like, now. Pause the video, mute the stream, whatever, then come back, and then we'll tune back in. Moving forward, so Endgame left us on a really sad note. Of course, we had, the end of basically the saga that started it all. We had 3 of our big heroes kind of end their stories, and in a way, one of them kind of went on his own. We had Tony Stark that kind of went and did the most selfless thing he could have did for anybody, and made a huge impact on the world and left everybody in sadness and everything like that. But he did what he had to do. He finished his story. He saved the world. He was the Iron Man. Just like he says it at the very end before he snaps. Like, he tells us his farewell, and that's it. And that's basically saying, like, hey, look, this is it. I'm gonna finish this. So there's that. Captain America, of course, goes back to return the Infinity Stones, stays back there and enjoys his bit of life, and he pops up at the end as like an old man with a shield, and shows like, hey, I chose to live the life instead, and he seems a lot happier that way. He somehow that can kind of concludes into the whole timeline and everything, maybe. Who knows? There's a lot of plot holes with that, but who cares? It's a good movie. You want to nitpick it all you can, that's fine, but beautiful movie overall. You can't argue with that. They did it really well, so there was not much you could say besides, like I said, wanting to nitpick. Anyways, moving forward. So we flash forward to the end of Endgame. Snap happens. People are back from 5 years. This movie captures all of that. It picks up. It even makes some jokes at it and everything. It kind of tells you, like, hey, so these people snapped. These people didn't. This guy got older. This person didn't. And it kind of makes some jokes of people like reappearing as they came back from the snap, which made a really, big impact on the world. There's like focus groups, support groups. They had to kind of balance the scales, like with the educational system that they talk about in the movie, to kind of fix some things from there. Lots of stuff happening there, and of course, everybody's mourning Iron Man. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen next. Who's going to be our next big hero as they kind of go through things. So, with that being said, everybody's looking to, Spider-Man, like, hey, he's gone, you're here, you got us, you're gonna take care of us, right? You're gonna help us out. And Peter just, he's a kid still, it doesn't really hit you until he kind of says it at some points, that he's like, hey, I'm 16 years old, like, I'm still a kid, I'm still trying to live my life. He still wants to just get the girlfriend, go on school trips, focus on school, and still be Spider-Man. But there's so many things clouding that, which is, you kind of feel for him, man. Like, he's trying to be, you know everything that a kid wants to be, but then he has like the weight of the world on his shoulders, and now with some of the biggest heroes gone, like, who do you have? You have him. Of course, you have like Ant-Man, Hawkeye, um, Hulk, maybe if he's not too damaged from everything. The new Captain America, Falcon. Of course, you got Black Panther, but everybody's off doing their own thing. So who's gonna take care of the city and things like that? Like, who's the next person to be Iron Man's protege? So, he's kind of at that point where he's like, hey, I have to, step up. And that's where the movie kind of takes us to him trying to live his life, and then things just go out of whack. And everything I'm going to talk about is from the trailers, so nothing spoiler yet until you see that thing at the top. So, what up, Sham Bam? I'm talking about Spider-Man, so I'm still like in non-spoiler territory, so just a heads up. I don't want to ruin it for anybody if you haven't seen it yet. Kind of my cue is I have a little spoiler text that's gonna pop up in the corner. When you see that, it's probably some stuff in the movie. So if you want to go see it, or you planning on going to see it, I don't want to ruin it for anybody. So just a heads up. The real big stream coming up later on though, Sham. We're gonna be doing Apex later on. Big stream. Probably doing a giveaway. Lots of stuff going on there. But that'll start later on tonight, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock ish, whatever. One of those. But anyway, so no spoilers yet, so take that away. But yeah, so we flash forward. He is, kind of coming out of being this hero that his aunt wants him to be, and that everybody wants him to be, and he just wants to live his life. So he goes. They take the trip, and good. I haven't seen a Marvel movie in years. Oh, okay, I see. So then, yeah, you'll be okay. So they go through on this trip, and then, as you see in the trailers, Nick Fury kind of comes and kind of hijacks the views, and basically says like, "No, I'm trying to get a hold of you. We don't have an Iron Man. I need you to be the Iron Man because there's big stuff going on, and that's when we see." Cue Mysterio, cue the Elementals. Everybody's popping in. Mysterio's fighting them off. You got Jake Gyllenhaal, Bubble Man, the Bubble Boy. Like, still in a bubble, still kicking ass, of course. Slapping everybody around. And it just looks beautiful. Like, the graphics that they use for him, the graphics they use for the Elementals, the destruction and all that stuff. It's so good. It's so good. Like, it's amazing that how well they make it look. Like, it's stuff straight out of a comic book is how they make it look. So it's beautiful. It really is. And of course he introduces himself, says he's from another Earth, and here's why I'm here. Here's why I need you to help me. Here's why I've enlisted Nick Fury to help me. And thus the movie kicks off from there. Of course, they travel across Europe trying to fight these Elementals, and there's stuff going on behind the scenes, that still kind of blend into the original plot of the movie, that Peter's trying to confess how he feels and still be a kid, but, he feels all this dread, that he has to live up to things. So, that being said, I think that's about most that was in the trailer so far. We get a lot of Nick Fury. Get a lot of Maria Hill in this movie. Lots of things going on, for sure. And I'm trying to think what else in the trailers that they show before I go into spoiler territory. It's kind of hard not to, but, when you're talking for, about 30 minutes for a review, it's kind of hard to not go into the spoiler territory. Or at least what I consider spoilers. I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Like I said, there's some things that if somebody would tell me, I'd be like, hey, get out of my face with that crap. I'm just trying, I don't want to hear that yet. But, everything I've said so far has been in the trailers. Nothing really crazy's happened just yet. So let's go ahead and get into the spoiler moment, or what I consider spoilers. And the rest of this is probably going to be a lot easier because I don't have to hold myself back from anything. So big plot twist that we kind of see coming, and if you're a comic reader, you have an idea of what's going to happen. Of course, Mysterio, has this really big bonding talk with Peter, saying like, "Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to be this kid? Do you want to be the hero? What do you want?" And Peter's already down in the dumps already as it is, so of course he's like, "Hey, look, I just want to be a kid, I want to tell that girl that I like her. I want to kiss her. I want to, have a girlfriend. I just want to, finish high school and go about my way." So he gives him that talk and it says like, "Look, you don't have to do this. Basically, let me be the next Iron Man." Without saying it, he does like almost reverse psychology. And so Peter gives him these glasses that Iron Man left him, which are the ones you see in the trailer, like the big kind of clear aviator kind of ones. And those are synced into Tony Stark's like security system, and it's cool how they dived it all the way back to Iron Man 1. Like this movie's a big circle. It's a big circle. And it kind of flashes back like, okay, hey, the guy who, what's his name? Oh my god. The main guy from the antagonist from part 1, Jeff Bridges. The guy who Jeff Bridges yells at about the reactor, like, it's him. He's part of Mysterio's plan. And then on top of that, there's also Jake Gyllenhaal is of course in the background of Civil War supposedly, which he most likely not, but the way they kind of cued it in when Tony Stark's talking about all the technology and the holographic technology and all that stuff, and I didn't put it together that it could be that till now, which that was a great build-up. But you see him in the back, he's like, he called it barf, like what the fuck, like why would you do that? Of course Tony Stark's just like, hey, I'm creative, but whatever, I'm gonna do what I want. So he takes that to heart, and thus Mysterio is born with these people who have like this weird kind of hatred towards Tony Stark and what he stood for and the stuff he did with his technology. So boom, Mysterio's the bad guy. We kind of saw it coming. We were hoping, for that multiverse kind of thing, because who wouldn't want to see Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, but not the CGI version? We want to see the regular version. Imagine like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield popping out of a portal and being like, "Hey, like there's a big cosmic shit going on. Like we need every Spider-Man. Like come along, come with us." And like we have all 3 of the Spider-Mans we've seen on TV. We see like maybe a Miles Morales version, who like maybe he's a Donald Glover, like he's an older version of Miles Morales. That would be sick. That would be amazing because I know like he did the voice for like the cartoon. He's the uncle. And he's the uncle in what's it called in Homecoming. He's the uncle to Miles. Like they kind of say, "Oh yeah, my nephew lives over there," which is Miles Morales. Which Gambino as that would be amazing. And there's been so many talks about it. I remember when they first started talking about Spider-Man being revamped. They're like, "Well, let's make it a black Spider-Man. Let's make it a somebody we haven't seen yet." And he was one of the running up names. But I digress. That'd be kind of cool, but turns out it was a bunch of baloney. Nothing happened. At least not that we know. Maybe there really are different universes, that they haven't exploited yet, or maybe that's a build-up. Kevin Feige is a genius, so I'm not gonna put it past him. Like the way he built up this saga for like these past 10+ years, and the stories he's pulled together is just amazing. Like you just can't fight against that. So maybe, who knows in the future. Anyways, Mysterio's a bad guy, and he has this plot. Now he has the glasses because Peter handed them over to him. So now he's basically back in control of what Tony Stark was going to use for dream sequences and things like that, but he wants to use it to rule the world. He wants to be the next hero because there is no heroes right now, which has always been Mysterio's thing. Like he's like a super like technical person with like graphics and designs and stuff like that, so he tricks people, which they play it off so well in the movie. It looks pretty cool. Like it's like he's directing a movie, but with destruction, which is what makes him, the bad guy. He doesn't care if he kills people as long as it looks good and he comes out on top. So the action gets amazing. There is just stuff going on everywhere. I mean, we see Spider-Man beaten and torn. Like it's almost like he can't win at some points. And what up, Naruto? This is a spoiler, but just to let you know, man. We're talking about Spider-Man. I hope I'm not ruining anything for you. I'm just gonna warn anybody that comes in, just so everybody knows. Um, so I'm gonna go to continue. Just a heads up, man. But yeah, so whenever we come into it, uh, let me see. Let me see. Hold on, one second. One second. This YouTube video is gonna take some editing if I go back and upload this to YouTube. Maybe not this one. Maybe I do a separate one with like a co-host or something. Uh, but so now we all know that Mysterio's the bad guy. Spider-Man's trying to go ahead and tell everybody like, hey, no, like he's bad. Like, thanks to Mary Jane or MJ, I guess we'll just call her MJ. I don't know. I forgot her name. I think her name stands for something else. She finds this holograph piece, tells Peter about it. And then she's like, "Oh, I know you're Spider-Man." And he's like, "How do you know I'm Spider-Man?" And then of course she puts it all together. And he's like, "Oh, okay, you do know I'm Spider-Man. Okay, yeah, I am." And so they try to go off and rescue the classmates and everybody else and talk to Nick Fury. But Nick Fury has been already kind of set to the point where he's like, "Oh, you know what? Like everything's fine. You know, it's cool. Like, hey, he just whatever." So he's not looking at it seriously, and they haven't got a chance to get to him just yet. And when Peter tries to go and approach Nick Fury about it, we see this epic CGI sequence that Mysterio puts on for him that just looks like something straight out of a video game, where he's trying to chase after him, and it's like you go behind this door and something changes. Like you think you're gonna punch him and you punch a wall, or you're falling down, or you're gonna try to chase somebody, but really you're just jumping into the ground. Like he uses the special effects in the craziest ways. Like I didn't think they would be able to make that on a movie. Like that's crazy. It's like I said, it's something you see on a video game. They did something close to that, where Mysterio's like this gigantic being and you're fighting against him, but really he's just a dude directing like a movie, and you're fighting robots and stuff like that. Anyways, super cool scene. Almost like he's trying to mentally break down Spider-Man, and he's trying to snap him out of it. It's just trick after trick after trick, and it's just crazy how well they do it. Like it's done really so well. Um, so as we progress forward, Spider-Man loses that battle, wakes in the middle of nowhere, calls Happy, and Happy shows up with the jet, which is what we see, where he's like, I just really miss him, and he's talking about Iron Man, and you see him kind of break down, and you can kind of like sympathize with him, because it's like Iron Man's this guy we knew for like 10 years, who's like he brought the Avengers together. He was the first person to come out and say, "I am Iron Man. I have my armor." Like come at me, basically. And he would pop in other people's movies, to bring people in. He brought in the Hulk. He pulled together everybody. He brought Black Widow in the second movie. Like he was such a star, and to be like, hey, I can't do this. Like I can't be what he wants me to be. And Happy tells him, like, hey, look, I miss him too. And here's but you got to push forward. Like he did it for you. He did it. He gave you this second chance, like with the glasses, because you're the right person for it. Like why would you not be the right person for it? So as we're going forward from there, he goes, and it almost killed me in the movie theater. Like I'm not gonna lie. Hey. Um. So when he picks him up in the jet, he's like, "Okay, hey, I need my suit." So he goes into the back and he opens up this almost like portable version of like a suit maker, and Spider-Man goes up to it, and it's like if you watch the old ones, it kind of hits you, because he's like bring up everything on Spider-Man. So it brings up all these different suits, that you see like from comics, video games, stuff like that. Although they're just like in outlines of it, so you can't really see it too well. And he's like, okay, give me this from this, give me this. Like he's pulling it apart, and he constructs a web shooter, a digital web shooter in his hand, and he puts his hand through it, and he brings it up, and he looks at it, and like just when you see that part, you think of like the first Iron Man where he's designing concepts. He's like throwing stuff in the trash. He has a big holographic computer, and it hits you. Like damn, like maybe this is supposed to be the next Iron Man. Like he gave him the technology to move forward, and watching that in the movie theater almost killed me. Like it melted my heart seeing that. I'm like, oh man, like he's not here anymore. And to kick it off on top of that too, like Happy's like, you know what? You take care of the suit. I'll get the music. And what does he play? He plays some ACDC, and like that right there, that's Iron Man's cue right there. Like in the first couple movies, no matter what, he comes in Avengers, he comes in with some ACDC, and Iron Man 2 comes with ACDC. Like it's like that's him. Like it's such a nostalgic moment to see that, and oh man, it just, like I think I had like one tear come out. One tear fell out of my eye. I'm not even gonna brush it off. Like it was so great to see that. So he designs the suit, puts on the music, all that. So he goes and he designs which is the suit we see here, which is the black and red one, which looks amazing. It's totally starked out and all that stuff. And goes to fight Mysterio, and Mysterio's got this gigantic elemental of all this crazy stuff going on. Happy tells Nick Fury like, "Hey, don't trust that guy," basically in a coded message, and so Nick Fury kind of gets a hold of it, and kind of gets the idea like, "Oh, okay, something's wrong. We don't know what yet." And he finds out. He basically looks at everything because he's Nick Fury. Finds out everything. Let's see. Then the big battle happens, and it's intense. Like the action they're doing with Spider-Man is everything you want it to be. Like he's flinging around, he's jumping things, he's tying stuff together with his webs. He's using his science knowledge to put things into things that are going to counteract what he's going to be up against, and it is beautiful. The sequence of him jumping around, taking out these little robots, knocking stuff out. I can't express it as much. Like you wouldn't think you would see this on the big screen. I mean, Homecoming was good, and we saw a little bit of like what Spider-Man could do, but this like just shows you everything, and then some. It's everything you want it to be if you're a Spider-Man fan. That's for sure. It's a big battle with Mysterio. He finally sees through everything, uses his spider sense, which is like how like he's adapting into his powers, and takes out Mysterio. That's it. Boom. Things are done. After a long fight of finding out he's just a man, but he's a smart ass man. He's using these robots and holographics to basically deceive everybody, including Peter Parker. So once he beats him, that's the end of it right there. Have fun, homie. Tell Cosmetics hi. Hey, much appreciated, Shambam. You have a good day at work, or leave work. Okay. I guess it might be on later on. When we tune in, I'll tune into you too if you come on. So after the battle, everybody's going home. Everything's fine. Everything's kind of locked up. MJ knows who Spider-Man is, so thus there goes the MJ Spider-Man kind of love interest that we see in every other iteration, which is really good. They have really good chemistry together, and it plays off because like it's not like Stranger Things season 3 tomorrow. Oh wow, forgot about that. I'm gonna have to take time to look into that. Oh, my light is not on. That's why it looks all pasty back there. There you go. I'll look like I have a big shiny forehead now. There you go. It's a little bit better. So after we're into that part, they're going home, and he takes her. She's like, okay, don't be late. Don't be late. And what does he do? He takes her swinging like through the city. And the viewpoints they do from it is so epic. Like you could see like everything jumping around, and he's swinging from here to there, and it's a classic Spider-Man finish to a classic Spider-Man movie, and it's beautiful. But then, cue the credits. She's happy, and they're happy, and all that, and here comes the end credits of something that I didn't see coming. And watching these movies for so long, reading the comics, playing the games and all that, being a big fan of Spider-Man that I am, the way it ends, of course he's like, okay, I'll see you later, whatever, he's going to drop her off. And then he looks at it, and this gigantic screen on the side of a building, it's like, hey, flashing news, here's, big things have just happened. There's a big attack in London that just happened, of course, between Mysterio and Spider-Man, and then Mysterio, being the trickster that he is, like he might just be like somebody who can contest with Loki how tricky and how smart he is. Releases this video where he's like, hey, I'm trying to fight this elemental. I might lose this battle, but if so, like, it's because Spider-Man turned against me. I'll still be able to take out the elemental, but Spider-Man's he's against me. I don't know why he started fighting me, which we know is fake, but he's an actor. He's whatever. He's pulling it off, and people are gonna believe it. And so right before that, he goes, "Oh, by the way, I know Spider-Man's real identity. It's Peter," and then it stops. It goes black. So it leaves you on for a second, being like, "Oh shit!" Like he's about to tell everybody in New York who Spider-Man is, and it's a really big cliffhanger. But then it clicks right back on, and he goes, "Oh no, it's Peter Parker." And he tells you, like, in plain sight. And so Spider-Man's sitting here on top of this light post, just dropping off this girl. And then everybody's like, oh, shit. Like, that's, like, is that true? And they're looking at him. He just, like, you see Spider-Man's Spider-Man's eyes, like, white up. And he looks just like, oh, my God. Like, and it ends. It ends right there. Like, how do you do that? Like, it's really good because I'm ready for the next movie. Like, I will go watch it. Any trailer, any script, anything, whatever, because I want to know what's happening next. Like, what a way to end it. It was absolutely intense. So, that's the basic movie in a nutshell. I haven't done one of these reviews before. I'm doing it now. Definitely will go back and edit it. Maybe continue doing things like this. Definitely easier if I probably have somebody to talk with, when I do that. A couple big things, too. They brought back J.K. Simmons as the Daily Bugle, like director, and it's so awesome because the minute he pops up, he goes, "Spider-Man's a menace," the way he does it, and like that is another nostalgic thing, man. Because I grew up with those Tobey Maguire movies, with Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, where he's constantly yelling at Spider-Man. Being a smartass about things, but seeing him back in this movie, it was so cool. Like, he doesn't look like the way he does in the original ones, of course. They changed him up, and he's got a little bit of a different look. But seeing him in there, that really made the movie for me. I'm like, oh my God, like, I know who that is. Like, I was watching it with my daughter, and I had to explain to her who that was, and why I was like, oh my God, like, they brought him back. Like, what the fuck? It was crazy. But yeah, so that was part of it. He was part of the ones telling people, like, yeah, Spider-Man's a menace, like, he killed Mysterio, blah, 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 and so that's what kind of goes into it, which makes me super excited for the next movie. So, cue all the credits. Now we get the end credit scene. I didn't see this coming. It does bring us to the fact that maybe we're looking at something bigger. So, after the end credits are rolling, final credit, you see Nick Fury and Maria Hill, they're driving. And like, oh man, that could have been really bad. That could have been worse, whatever. And you see Maria Hill turn into a Skrull, a fucking Skrull, that we saw in Captain Marvel. And she's like, hey, call him. He's like, I don't want to call him. And it's Nick Fury saying that. She's like, no, you need to call him. And so he gets his phone, he calls it, and it starts ringing. He's like, hey, just so you know, we gave Peter the glasses, but things went awry. So you're like, who is he talking to? And then he transformed into a Skrull, and it's I can't remember his name, but he was basically the main head Skrull, I guess you could say, from Captain Marvel. And he's like, hey, we tried to get this wrong. People were asking, where are the Avengers at? We gave them this, and things went smoothly, but we took care of it. After things went a little off the rails, but then we still took care of it. And the next thing you know, we see Nick Fury in space. It looks like he's chilling in the Bahamas or something on a beach. And then the hologram goes away. He gets up, he's like in beach shorts and like a button-up shirt. The man's just relaxing. And he finally gets up and he's like, alright, it's time to get back to work. And he's on this gigantic spaceship, like in space, and he's looking at everything. And so clearly that might be building into something else. Like, who knows? Like, we could be looking at like the next Galacticus thing. Maybe they're bringing Silver Surfer. We have Captain Marvel out in space now, and now that he's back and Captain Marvel is probably caring about him a little bit more now because she left, came back, and he was gone, and now he's back. You know, we have so many things that it left open now that we can see. So that's was a crazy way to end it, considering I think supposedly it's the end of this phase before we get to the next ones. You know, maybe the next phase is all going to be about space, aside from, you know, maybe like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and stuff like that. You know, but we have the Guardians, Thor. If they make another Thor, I think they're talking about it. He's part of the Asgardians now, so that could be another big one. I think they've been talking about a Valkyrie show or movie. Um, there's that. Then Captain Marvel, of course, she could take us to space. There's so many things that they could do to bring us back into it, and it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes, you know. And I'm excited for it. I just feel like they played this movie off so well. They did leave a little bit of cliffhangers. I was hoping, since this is technically the last movie I think in this cycle, that it would give us some closure, um, to finish everything out. But I'm happy with it either way. One thing though that I felt a little empty leaving that movie is there was no Stan Lee cameo, and I think that kind of hit me at the end. Like, I was sitting there waiting. I'm like, oh, where's he at? Oh, where is he? You know, there was nothing there. You know, I was even hoping in the end credits scene or the mid credits scene, like maybe, you know, they were gonna bring some kind of, you know, Spider-Man lands and he picks up a hot dog or whatever, or something like that, and maybe Stanley's gonna be like, "Oh, you crazy kids," or something like that, you know, to kind of tie him in. But we didn't get Stan Lee, and that's where it goes back and it hits you. Like, he's not with us anymore, man. Like, maybe his real last cameo was in Endgame, you know. And what a way to end it though, on that scene with him and his wife driving off, and he has enough said on the thing and everything like that. It was a bit of a sad moment, for sure, to think about that. You know, but I was hoping for some other things too. They're just little things that play off in my mind, like, what if at the end when he's swinging with MJ, he lands and, you know, there's people around them and he lands right there. And what if, like, Tobey Maguire and oh my god, I feel bad, I can't remember her name. I'm just gonna say Kirsten Dunst. That's right. What if, like, them two are, like, standing there, and then Spider-Man swings off, and they're like, you know, and then maybe Tobey Maguire's like, "Hey, cool, man, it's Spider-Man," and, you know, she turns to him and says like, "Oh, you know, you're in love with that man. Like, come on, Tiger." And then, like, I would have, like, flipped my shit if I saw that. Like, if there was, like, some kind of reference to that, you know, oh my god, that would have been amazing to tie back all the Spider-Mans together. Like, don't even make him Spider-Man, just bring him in. Like, I just want to see him there. You brought back J.K. Simmons, just bring him back too. That would have been amazing. Just for that little bit, I would have just right there. Or one thing that I was also thinking of too. These are all just dream sequences, by the way. Nothing else is crazy. But, like, what if also too at the very end, Spider-Man lands, you know, whatever, and then you see Stan Lee talking to Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire talking about, "Hey man, you gotta let the new guy take over. Like, he's got it down." And maybe they're talking about some guy at a job or something like that. But we know what they're talking about. Like, that would have been another cool little, like, Stan Lee credit scene to credit the rest of the franchise and everything else. That would have been intense. But, you know, it's not what we got, but it was still pretty good. I loved it either way. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna be my review for this one. Now I'm probably gonna be doing some more in the future, once I find maybe a better setup or anything like that. Those are just kind of spurt kind of things, trying to see how it goes. I'm gonna go back and edit everything. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I will do some more of these. This one I'll edit and upload to my YouTube later. But yeah, thank you guys, and y'all have a good day.